Hi, everyone. I'm Jamie Vaughn with the How She Got There podcast. And today we are so excited because we have our first gamer on. And this is Gabriella LeTigress Devia-Allen, who is all the way from LA. We're so excited to have you. Hi, Gabby. How are you?
Hey, Jamie, I'm doing well. I'm excited to be here too. Always so much fun hopping on a podcast. I hope you're doing all right over on East Coast.
Yep, things are great over here on the third coast, as we call Nashville. So, yeah. So, I want to hear like where you grew up and what did you want to be when you grew up?
Yeah, so I grew up a little bit all over the place. For the most part, I claim Florida because that's where I spent all my high school years and a lot of the younger years. But I was born in the Bay in California, then moved to Italy, then Texas, then North
Wow.
Florida, then South Florida, and then into adulthood, went to Kentucky, Illinois, and then now back out in Cali, first North and South. And as far as what I wanted to be growing up, I've always been interested in some form of entertainment and media. I don't think there was a time that I wanted a career outside of that. So when I was younger, it was all about music and wanting to be a musician or a Broadway star, an actor, or getting into the production side when I went into undergrad and being more editing focused and things.
Mhm.
So now doing that within the gaming world as a live broadcaster. So still very in line with where the young girl dreams were.
Yeah, mine are very similar to that too. I never saw a career outside of the entertainment industry, whether it be front or behind the camera. So totally understand that. What part of Florida did you grow up in?
For the most part, South Florida, most of the places within Broward County. So went to
Wow.
the same high school for all 4 years.
High school for me was the only school I went all 4 years to. So
Oh yeah, you
completely.
switch around a lot before that.
Yeah, we my born in Atlanta, raised in Panama City Beach, so opposite end of the state of Florida from you. But we moved back and forth a lot, and yeah, I went to 10 different schools, and high school was the first one, start to finish. So, but we're not here to talk about me. So we're here to talk about you. I'd love to know where you went to school, and obviously you had to study broadcast or communications or something like that, correct?
Yep. So, as far as where I studied beyond high school education, I went to Western Kentucky University for undergrad on a speech and debate scholarship where my major was broadcasting with a concentration in TV film production, and my minor was in music. And then I later went to graduate school at Illinois State University where I
Okay.
focused in communication, but I basically said, hey, I just want to talk about esports the whole time. So, like, what can we do to make that happen? And did that for 2 years.
Okay, I love that. I love that that was like your master's, and you're like, I want to talk about gaming. Love it.
Oh, yeah, it was a blast, and really appreciative of my mentor there too, because she was a
Yeah.
lot of the process of making that happen. Because obviously it's
Mhm.
kind of a weird thing to go into a
Yeah.
comm degree with, but she comes from TV broadcasting, having, like,
Mhm.
managed live shows, so she was very industry focused as well and did a lot with me to get that portfolio built and really gear towards industry track rather
Mhm.
than the education track, which a lot of people in grad school end up going through.
Right. Yeah, very true. So tell me, how did like the love of gaming start for you? I know, that a lot of girls really aren't into gaming very much. And if they are, there comes a time where they kind of just put all that aside. How did you fall in love with that world and want to make that your career track?
I would say my relationship with gaming has been very interesting overall because at a young age, I loved it and not really thinking about, oh, gender norms around gaming or anything like that. I got a game for Christmas, just Super Mario from the Nintendo 64 and really enjoyed it and got some console games and things later. I would go to my friend's house and we'd play PC games. And then without realizing it at the time, I think I did hit kind of that block where I was like discouraged from gaming so much, a unique situation at home and I no longer had access to my games. And instead of finding ways to force into being able to game, I thought, oh, I guess that's not what I'm supposed to do. I don't have access to it so much. So there was a chunk of time where I didn't game directly as much, but I still enjoyed watching it. And I would watch my friends play. And then I got very conscious of not being as good at them because I'm not playing as often, but I would still enjoy watching it to that effect. So into my adulthood, specifically after undergrad, that was kind of where I took the approach of I'm an adult now. I can do what I want. I want to game. I want to do that. It doesn't matter if I'm going to be a bit bad because I didn't do it for a few years. I really want to get back into that space. And it was at the same time that I was also thinking, okay, where do I want to go industry wise? And my partner at the time introduced me to esports. And that's how it kind of all coincided and, crossed one another and was, oh, there's this whole world of entertainment for gaming now that I'm so excited about. And I get to take that agency and game once more. So I definitely went through those stages of kind of not being normative in that way
Mhm.
in terms of pursuing it. But then having that agency again in adulthood has been a really great way to reignite that passion.
Yeah. Well, today, Maddie's our producer for our viewers. We were watching videos and having a great time watching you do your thing. So,
Ah, appreciate that. Yeah,
yeah.
there's a lot of great videos out there. Some that I, lovingly cringe at now when I look upon the early ones, but those are the kind of things that really mark your journey that are always fun to reflect upon.
Yes, we watched you rap Nicki Minaj this morning, and then see
Oh my
the.
gosh.
It was the
Somebody
second.
put that up, so I can't even adjust it. It's just there forever because someone that was a mod on the channel clipped it, put it up there. My best friend loves bringing it up all the time. And she's like, oh, yeah, you're just going to rap Nicki Minaj? I'm like, yeah.
But here's the thing: you watch where you were, and like that was 2014 to where you are in 2022, and the growth in it is amazing and wonderful. And the fact that you stuck with it is a great story for young women to see that they can do this.
Oh,
So yeah, I have videos too. I don't ever want to see again.
yeah. No, and it is interesting, and I always appreciate that, and very like, oh, it's great feeling to be able to lay a bit of a path because when you're in the moment, and I'm sure you've experienced this as well, you're so focused on the grind,
Mhm.
you're trying to take each step that sometimes you don't always take the time to reflect back and think, oh, this is where I was at that time. This is where I am now, and
Yeah,
the learnings that you take across the way. So it is wild to look back sometimes and be like, oh, 2014 can feel like a lifetime away, but it really wasn't that long ago.
yeah, yeah. But it's fun to see how you've grown in the career and what you're doing now. But I really want to know how the name LeTigress came about.
I have always loved tigers for as long as I can remember. I did a project on them in the 4th grade where I made them out of clay and it looked terrible, but it was fun. And just what they embodied. And when I decided to go on the gaming track, part of it is, oh, yeah, so what's your name going to be, your username? It's very common for people to go by their usernames more regularly in the gaming space. And I was like, I really want something tiger. Like that's what I identify with in terms of just like their, what they stand for. And I
Yeah.
didn't want numbers. And a lot of names are taken and things. So I kind of started with Tigress. I was like, the Tigress is taken, La Tigress is taken. And I was like, Le Tigress, that still kind of works. And the Le memes being a thing at the time. So I smashed it together and then said, hey, what do you know? This works and I dig it. I did not think about the pronunciations that would come with it. I get LeTigress a lot and then LeTigress. And then in Twitch, when you write in the chat, there's no capitals. So there's a while where I would be called LeTigress or Letty for short. And then I'm not somebody that cares that much. So I'd be like, oh, yeah, they can call me. I'm just enjoying the streamer. And I'd
Mhm.
write in the chat and they're like, hey, Letty and stuff. And I'm like, it's fine. It's fine. And then years later, they're like, oh my God, that's not what it is. I'm like, maybe I should have said something, but, just had fun with it.
Yeah. So how did in full disclosure, everyone, we had her fiance on our other podcast called Next In, and he was telling us about how he got involved with the studio that he works for now just by asking for free stuff. And that turned into a career for kind of both of you jumping into gaming and hosting and all of that. Could you tell us that story?
Yeah, the relationship that my partner and I have, I love on so many levels, and one of them specifically relating to this is we collaborate really well in like pursuing our dreams alongside one another and encouraging each other to do so and helping out one another in that way. And when we both were in this early stage and on different levels decided, oh, I want to go into the live broadcasting part of esports, specifically in gaming, he has always had a passion for the development side and, that creative production process. So you go into it and you think, oh, none of us know anybody in this
Mhm.
space. So how do we go about making those connections to get into a position to start growing? And for the first stage was, I remember he had connected with, it was a small amateur esports organization. There's a lot of small, tournaments and things. And it's kind of where everyone's trying to build up their experience to get to that next stage. And then that evolved into bringing it into another esports organization where he brought that connection, and then we met people through it, and that's how we started on that side where he was doing a bit more like community management and structural stuff there. And then during that process where we were covering a lot of League of Legends, which is the game that I mainly cover now, he discovered this game called Duelist, which is, it's a wonderful game that had amazing time during its lifespan. And it was from an indie company. And, you know, sometimes it's harder to break into the big conglomerate companies where how do you even go about doing that? But a lot of those small indie companies, is the people that are in the Discord are the ones that are making the games and stuff. They're very accessible. And he, I think, just emailed them, say, hey, I want to make tournaments for this. And he started making content on the YouTube channel, and he was doing that and kind of community driven, and then ended up meeting, you know, Keith Lee, who is the owner over there at Counterplay Games, and then really going into that side. And then with the amateur organization that we had started, I was doing a lot of live broadcast stuff, and then started doing the live broadcast things for the dual side as well, and reached out in the same way and was like, I want to do hosting things for your tournaments. And they were like, we're so small, there's no just hosting role, but if you want to cast and host and stuff and get on a camera with somebody, by all means. And started doing that. So we collaborated a lot within the duelist space and got to learn a lot and do a lot and really become part of community. It's the first community I consider to be like a first true home where I felt like, you know, really connected to a lot of the people in the core. I ended up having a card in the game named after me by the end of it, which was really exciting. And I was so happy about that. And then Richard had a very heavy footprint on the game overall and the entire development of the tournament scene, even bringing it to a world championship for that game at the time. So it was a nice mark. And now he's still with the company that made that and has been working on a lot of the other titles. I've since then, you know, moved on to other titles as well. But it was a great time.
Oh, I love that. I love hearing origin stories of how somebody, you know, just took that chance. And because, you know, a lot of times you're already at no, so why not just ask and do it, and then ask permission, you know, or ask for forgiveness later. I see a lot of people do that, and it usually turns out really well for them, especially in the entertainment world when there's not as someone already doing it and they've got that idea. So, all right, let's jump in and fill the hole. So yeah.
I
Do you
think
have?
always.
Oh, go
Or
ahead.
trying. I was just saying, I think always having to step into that place to take that chance, because not everything is going to work out, but you have to continually cast that net so something does.
Yep. So tell me, what's your favorite game to play? Do you have one?
I have a few different favorite games to play. I'm definitely a Riot fangirl through and through, which is why I enjoy getting to work on the games on a broadcast level, because I fell in love with League of Legends when I started playing it. And then I also enjoy Valorant as the kind of that shooter itch. Basically, for different categories I like to hit, I'm like, oh, League of Legends hits what I want for MOBAs. Valorant hits what I want for shooters. Play at TFT when I'm feeling like a tactics type vibe. But then also console gaming is the more casual. So when out on the couch playing a lot of other things like Persona 5 Royale is what I'm trying to slowly make my way through and enjoy. And then have started other ones like Death Stranding and kind of visual novels as well. Danganronpa would be my favorite there.
Fun.
Give you a few.
I grew up with Atari. That's how old I am. And then we had
You have a favorite?
No, not really. I mean, I can remember Pong, you know, for the most part. And then, we had, when I was in 6th grade, is when everybody could get access to a Nintendo console. And my mother took it over, and we never got to play, but she could win more than others. So yeah, and then we got a Game Boy. My brothers and I shared a Game Boy, and Mom took that away to play Tetris. And then she always says she never did that, but she did. So when she watches this, I'm talking about you. So
she's the truest gamer of you all, and she just was, I need to find my way. Bring me all the console pieces.
Yeah, I think if we actually gave her a game console right now, she'd have a ball with all this new stuff.
Yeah, next birthday present.
Yeah, I mean, you know, that probably might be a really good idea to do. So, do you have like career advice that you would give a young woman that's wanting to kind of follow in your footsteps and how to get into this world?
So there's a very specific piece of advice that I always go back to as some of the greatest advice, and it's a little bit of a story, but in not long after undergraduate school, I was with Richard and some other people judging a high school speech and debate tournament. And in the judges lounge, which is usually a lot of like parents or alumni or coaches and things. Bob Odenkirk was just there. And for anyone watching the podcast that doesn't know, he is an actor known for Better Call Saul and his role in Breaking Bad and a bunch of other things. And
Mhm.
he's just there chilling because his son apparently does debate, and he was there as a parent judging just like everybody else, and walked up to him and started talking to him. And this was when I first started streaming and was kind of just casting the net everywhere. I didn't have a business card or anything, but it was like, hey, you're in the entertainment space, and started talking to him for quite a long time
Mhm.
and asked him advice and breaking into any type of entertainment world and things. And he said, so you should always be doing something to move forward, even if it is slightly related to what you're interested in. Because he
Mhm.
had a friend, for instance, that was all about narrative film. That's what he wanted to do. He wanted to write for it. There was a reality television opportunity that he saw and was, I'm not sure I want to do this, but it's in the space. I'll go for it, and ended up falling in love with that aspect and going so hard into it that he created an entire career of just being one of the mainstays within reality television creation space. And it was because he wasn't limiting himself to a single track that he found another passion and a way to achieve his ultimate goals of making it within that space to begin with. So
Mhm.
just trying to find all of the opportunities and having an open mind and then pursuing them and understanding that, yeah, not everything is going to work out, but it just takes the one thing that does. That is something to always keep in mind, especially when you're going for careers that might be more networking oriented or trying to find those lucky chances where you have to manufacture them yourself in some
Right.
way. So that's a piece of advice that I always go back to in
Mhm.
terms of even now when looking at opportunities and things to do and expanding
Yeah.
what I want to do.
Yeah. I love that advice. Always take the yes, always take the meeting, see what you can do because you never know what's going to be right around that corner for you.
Yeah, just create and do things. I mean, the early stages I was streaming and things, and a lot of people think, oh, that means you have to be some big streamer and that's how you make it is and then you grant this big following. And I said, no, I didn't get partnered on Twitch until later after establishing myself as an industry, personality. In
Mhm.
the early stages, I was a small channel, but I made things and they caught the eyes of the right people. I made a
Right.
really bad music video that to audition for a stream team that I, went and did some competition for where I just makeshifted everything and stapled a curtain to the ceiling so that it would have a black backdrop and I had to paint my eyes and not I couldn't breathe through my costume because I made it badly. It's a mess, but it was great and it showed creative
Mhm.
ideas where my first opportunity to do a broadcasting role for gaming was based off of that because I didn't have other experience. But he said, oh, I see personality and effort here.
Right.
Then I'll grant you. And that was for some other unrelated project to this that it ended up getting the job done. So, you don't have to go for the big numbers or these big things. Just keep creating and doing.
Can we find that video online?
Yeah, I have it. I'll send it to you. I have it
Okay.
unlisted right now, so I have to send you the link. But it's always one of those fun things because people be like, What is this?" And yeah, it's a good time.
I love that. Okay, so as we're wrapping this up, I always love to ask the women on how she got there. What inspires you? Because it's always so different from everybody, from each other.
What inspires me? It's one of those things that's very complex. So there are a lot of things that inspire me in terms of people. There are those that I'm always looking at within industry and the moves that they have made forward recently as I've been focusing a lot on play-by-play casting. I'm inspired by people like Pansy and Shocks, women in the space that really made their mark in a space where you don't see a lot of women on screen in
Right.
esports broadcasting in certain roles. And then there's like mentors and things I've had the pleasure of working with a lot of my character select agency family, the esports focused agency that I'm with, like Golden Boy, for instance, one of the first people I connected with alongside Kelly Link that have continually been there along the ride and I can always hit up. I,
Mhm.
in general, just am inspired by a lot of music and television and art. And then those around me, honestly, I feel like Richard and I continually inspire each other and continue to push each other forward and really just wanting to get to a place. But always it comes down to that core of wanting to create and seeing other people create and do so with such passion and vigor and, this unrelenting effort to push their art forward. Whenever I see that, that's something that I try to harness. And, when things get to a point where, oh, I'm tired, or how do I take this next step forward, looking towards those people that continually drive forward and hoping to adopt even just an ounce of that for myself to make the next year not feel like the previous year in the best way.
I love that. Gabby, thanks for coming on. Thanks for being our first female gamer on here. Super excited that you were able to take the time and meet with us. And everyone, if you like what you heard, make sure to hit subscribe so that you won't miss anything else coming from us. Thank you so much, Gabby.
Thank you, Jamie. It was such a pleasure being here, and I'll catch the VOD when it comes out.